John DeSando.
And I'm Mindy McFan.
And this is It's Movie Time.
Seems to be.
Well, Mindy, welcome back.
Nice to see you.
Sure, I don't know if have you ever experienced humor at a wake?
Yes. and ironically, it was a Jewish one.
Oh, it was? All right,
Yes.
okay.
Yep, absolutely.
Well,
Not this kind of humor necessarily, but humor.
Okay, so the film we're doing today is streaming on Amazon, if I remember, called Shiva Baby. And I know that there are different pronunciations for that, but they pronounce it Shiva in the film. So, because a friend of mine says it should be Sheva.
And I always learned that it was Shiva.
Shiva,
That you
right.
said Shiva, so
Good.
who knows?
Good enough.
Depends on, I presume, where the Jewish person is from.
So, Mindy, so we have a whole week, actually, in the Jewish tradition, right? To celebrate this funeral. What makes this funny? If it is, it's listed as a comedy. How can it possibly be a comedy?
Because I think tragedy is funny.
All right.
I mean, isn't that how we cope with tragedy? I mean, I've laughed in cemeteries. Because my grandmother, for some reason, when we went to funerals, my grandmother always wanted to get group family photos at the cemetery. Seemed like an odd place to do that, but she did, and she had a collection of these. And we go, "Where is that?" "Oh, that was at Aunt, Surrey's funeral." And I'm like, "I don't know." So I think a lot of quirky things come out when people are in the mourning process.
And isn't that the remedy that you might hear? Having a little humor, just to help you through. Now, so we have Danielle.
Yes.
20-something. She is going clueless to this Shiva. Mom making sure she's there.
Yes, she is.
What makes Danielle, even though she's Jewish, what makes her universal?
It's universal to me because family has a culture. It may be a different culture, but everybody has to grapple in some way with the culture they were handed at birth. And I think, especially at that age, is a time where you tend to go, "I don't want your culture." At least that's been my experience. Yes. That my kids kind of offloaded, not so much Mom, but finding your way in your culture and how you want to be in your culture, as far as how much do you want to absorb and how much do you want to reject going forward.
Sure. Yeah. What seems for Danielle, and Shiva Baby. What seems to be the pressures that she's feeling as a young woman?
Well, a lot of cultural pressures to be married, to make babies.
Wow, yes.
To prioritize correctly.
Which is not necessarily Jewish, but seems to be stereotype.
One of them, but many cultures have that stereotype.
I know,
that's not just Jewish.
I mean, how many times have these young women gone to something like some event like this, a gathering, and be asked the same questions?
It's really, really annoying.
Oh.
That's why I always say to my kids, if you get married and if you had kids, because I certainly didn't want my daughter. I think that was a foregone conclusion just because.
I know. And so, my gosh, there must be every middle-aged to older woman approaches her to ask her if she has a boyfriend.
Yep. Absolutely. And then commenting about her body.
Oh, gosh.
That was fun.
She apparently was heavier. She's lost weight.
Well, I presume in that context you're rarely the right weight.
Exactly. And what about boyfriend? I mean, one of the first things they'll ask you, do you have a boyfriend?
Yep. What does he do?
Right. And
we got to categorize this dude once we find him.
Right. And of course, brain surgeon would be the best.
Clearly.
Right.
Neuroscientist, something like that. Yeah, those are all good.
And what about, one of the complications and one of the humorous complications is Danielle's boyfriend, would you say?
Well, I put quotes around that.
Because I think what is the irony of her boyfriend?
And then he's a liar. He is married with a child.
I know he is. And actually, he's a sugar baby. I mean, sugar daddy.
Well, they lied to each other. Yeah.
Yes, they did, yeah. So he's the sugar daddy, she's the sugar baby.
Yeah.
And in order to make her way, but I'm not sure because her father and mother, who are beyond Jewish stereotypes, seem to support her.
Yes, well, she's been in college, so that's not, kind of, I felt like they were shaming her about that, but I think it's pretty common for people to be supported while they're in college. I mean, she was just coming out of college.
Yes, right.
And I think maybe the fear or wanting to dislodge herself from her parents made her go to somebody else that was going to provide those cash funds.
That's right, yes. And it almost seemed at some point that she was doing it out of some kind of a power act, as much as to get money.
Yeah, I think the idea of taking control of her life and not having her parents control over her,
Yes.
but I don't think she understood the independence thing. Skipped that little stage where she could have power over her own self with her own money.
Yes, yes, yes. In nice contrast to with the seeming lack of power she had at this party, where everybody is descending on her, and it reminded me so much, Mindy. I don't know if you remember in The Graduate, the party.
Oh,
there.
absolutely. Absolutely. Those kind of talking mouths coming at you.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And so what was they asking Dustin Hoffman's character what he's going to do, and
Plastics.
plastics. That's right. This is great. And Mike Nichols has intense close-ups. And I get that same feeling in this party. It is closed in. It is claustrophobic.
Yes.
And they are descending on poor Danielle.
Yep.
Now Danielle's love life is not uncomplicated, right? I mean.
Well, I hope that's still considered complicated.
Because her ex, Molly,
Yes.
it comes through. What about that?
Yes. Well, I thought it was really interesting to juxtaposition kind of her finding her way monetarily and then finding her way in her just who she was.
Right.
And how much she was pulled between being a nice Jewish girl, and I say whatever that is defined as,
Right.
and being who she wanted to be, which may have been gay, you know?
Yeah.
And so, or bisexual or whatever she was,
Right.
she trying to find her comfort level
Yes.
was obviously difficult.
Yes. And what did Mom warn her about?
I love that. Stop that playing around.
Right,
Or whatever.
don't play with Molly. Or no, I guess her name was Maya.
Yeah.
No play.
She thought it was a phase, like, I don't know, she joined a sorority and that's what you do. I mean, that's her mother minimized that it was a relationship at all.
I know it was.
It was like she was playing post office or something.
And I'm never certain where Danielle is relative to that, to Maya.
Yeah.
That seemed to be a thread that could have been developed.
I agree with you. But I think maybe it was saved for that ending moment to make it even more poignant.
Yeah,
And
it is
so,
powerful.
because like when she got stabbed in the leg, the thing, I felt like she was numb. She had made herself numb in her life. So she was numb to going out with a guy who wasn't particularly charming. So she wasn't focused on her own feelings. And even when, a nail goes in your leg and you don't react, she just kind of was, she just was numb. She was numb to her parents, and it felt like, as the movie went on, that her feelings got awoken, and you started to see her being agitated by all the voices, and it's like she was waking up to it all. She was becoming less numb as the funeral went on.
Yes, and I do love that close-up of her fishnet stockings.
Oh yeah.
And the hole in it, and then her bleeding. Really interesting little. There are small moments. Emma Seligman is the director and the writer, and I would go to this just to listen to the audio. Just.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. It was almost a little jarring as it changed.
Yes, she just the rat-a-tat-tat, a little bit like the screwball comedy in some sense. A lot of this, just rapid fire, which made me think I need to go back and listen more to appreciate all that Seligman has put in here.
Absolutely.
And what about? Did it strike you at all about the cell phone?
Yes, because I think that is another example. At first, she's using the cell phone in this numb way to photograph herself, which to completely objectify herself.
Good.
To
Yeah.
this
Great.
bozo, if you'll excuse the term. She objectifies herself, and then in that numb way, and then at the end when she's looking for it, all of a sudden she cares.
Yes.
She feels the repercussions of what she's done. And even when she, like, they want her to hold the baby, and she does, I mean, how much more can you feel than holding the baby of a woman you have betrayed?
Oh, exactly.
I mean,
and
that's a lot of feelings.
And a wonderful stereotype, a Shishka.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Oh, she was perfect, wasn't she? I mean, she's in the dictionary next to Shishka.
So she's the wife of Max, her sugar daddy.
Yeah.
And she comes in, which of course is a big surprise to Danielle, and she comes in as the perfect Shishka.
Yeah.
I mean, she looks, and she's supportive of Max and all this, and I could just, poor Danielle, she's just being bombarded.
Yes.
I mean, not only did she not know he had a family, but she didn't know what a perfect wife he had.
And professional, and,
yes,
and, you know.
Right, accomplished in a couple of kids, or one
paid
kid.
for her bracelet.
Oh, the bracelet was another nice touch.
Yes, it was.
Wow.
Yes, it was.
Trying to wiggle out of that one.
Yeah. Well, and just to watch the wife, I mean, most women know that gut feeling where you're starting to go, something's funky here. And you can see the wife going,
right.
well, how do you know each other?
You're right, right. That's another recurring line is, how did you meet?
Yeah. And there's this feeling you get something ain't right. And then when the woman has the same bracelet on you as you do that your husband gifted you, you start to go, huh. Especially because she starts lying. I mean, you know, all of that.
And I guess one of the things I like about the film as well is their camera, her work of her camera, and when she catches the glimpses, say between Max and Danielle, and it's just subtle, but it is the kind of thing that could happen to anybody. And you're looking over at him, and you are conspirators.
Yeah.
And
you see her little wasp wheels turning.
I know.
You know.
I know that. And,